If my life were a movie, this would be the part where the popcorn gets stuck in your throat. But this wasn't entertainment. This was my Tuesday night, sitting in my worn leather recliner, watching old family videos with my kids while Jennifer worked late again at the agency. "Dad, maybe we should watch something else," Ross said, his voice tight with worry. My 22-year-old son kept glancing at the laptop screen like it might explode. "What's wrong with family memories?" I asked, clicking through the folder. That's when I saw it. A tab labeled Recent Videos that definitely wasn't mine. "Dad, don't," Amelia started, but I was already clicking. The video that opened made my stomach drop into my shoes. There was my wife of 23 years, Jennifer, sitting in Jake's car outside some motel, laughing and touching his face with the kind of intimacy I hadn't seen from her in months. My best friend Jake, the guy who'd been my business partner, my drinking buddy, the man who'd stood up at our wedding. "How long have you known?" I asked quietly, not taking my eyes off the screen. Ross shifted uncomfortably. "Dad, we didn't want to hurt you." "How long?" 6 months, Amelia whispered. "Maybe longer." 6 months. While I'd been working 60-hour weeks at the accounting firm, trying to save for Amelia's senior year tuition, my wife had been playing house with my oldest friend, the man who knew every detail of our finances, our struggles, our dreams. I closed the laptop with deliberate calm. "Where did this video come from?" "Someone at school sent it to me," Amelia said. "They saw them at that new restaurant downtown." "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." The next morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years. Instead, I drove to the clinic across town and requested a paternity test. The technician, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, didn't ask questions when I handed her the hair samples I'd collected from my younger son's brush. "Results will be ready in 3 days," she said. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. 3 days felt like 3 years. I went through the motions, made breakfast, went to work, came home to Jennifer's increasingly elaborate excuses about late meetings and weekend conferences. She was good at lying, I realized. She'd probably been good at it for years. On Friday, the email arrived. paternityresults.pdf. I opened it in my car outside the clinic, hands shaking. The words swam before my eyes, but the conclusion was crystal clear. Probability of paternity, 0%. My 16-year-old son wasn't mine. 23 years of marriage, and I'd been raising another man's child for the last 16. The timeline fit perfectly, right around when Jake had gotten divorced from his first wife and had been staying over to help with the kids while Jennifer and I went through our rough patch. I sat in that parking lot for an hour, letting the reality sink in. Then I printed 20 copies of the test results at the FedEx store down the street. Saturday afternoon, Jake was hosting his annual neighborhood barbecue. Perfect timing. I walked through his backyard gate carrying a manila envelope, scanning the crowd of familiar faces. Neighbors, co-workers, both our families mingling around the pool. Jennifer was there, of course, playing the role of devoted wife, laughing at something Jake's new girlfriend was saying. "Hey, buddy," Jake called out, beer in hand, that same charming grin that had fooled me for decades. "Grab a burger." "Actually, Jake, I brought something to share with everyone." I opened the envelope and pulled out the test results. "Thought you might find this interesting." His face went pale as I held up the papers. "What's that, Tom?" "Paternity results," I said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Turns out my younger son isn't actually mine. Funny thing about DNA, it doesn't lie." The conversations around us stopped like someone had hit a mute button. Jennifer appeared at Jake's side, her face a mask of panic. "Tom, let's talk about this privately," she said. "Privately?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "Like you and Jake talked privately for the last 16 years? I threw the papers into the air, watching them flutter down like confetti. Several neighbors scrambled to pick them up, reading with wide eyes. "You want to know the best part?" I continued, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent yard. "He's been my business partner this whole time, had access to all our financial records, knew exactly when we were struggling, when we were trying to save money. Must have been hilarious, watching me scrimp and save for college funds while you two were playing house." Jake stepped forward, his hands raised. "Tom, man, let me explain." I didn't plan what happened next. 23 years of trust, friendship, and partnership exploded out of me in one swift motion. My palm connected with his cheek with a crack that echoed across the yard. Jake stumbled backward, shocked, and fell straight into his own pool with a splash that soaked the first row of onlookers. "The video's already online," I said to the crowd, pulling out my phone. "Check social media, #Jake and Jennifer, enjoy the show." As I walked away, I could hear Jake's girlfriend screaming, Jennifer crying, and the excited chatter of neighbors already pulling out their phones. By the time I reached my car, I was trending locally on 3 different platforms. The revolution had begun. Monday morning brought a new reality. I'd always wanted to go viral, just not like this. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since Saturday night. Friend requests from people I'd never met, messages ranging from sympathy to morbid curiosity, and approximately 47 links to various social media posts featuring my domestic drama. Tom Patterson exposes cheating wife and best friend, read one TikTok caption over shaky phone footage of Jake falling into the pool. It had 12,000 views. I sat in my office at Henderson & Associates, trying to focus on quarterly reports while my coworkers whispered behind my back. Every few minutes, someone would walk by my cubicle with barely concealed curiosity, like I was a zoo animal. "Rough weekend?" asked Carol from HR, appearing at my desk with that concerned expression people wear when they want gossip more than they want to help. "Could be worse," I replied, not looking up from my spreadsheet. "Could be Jake." She laughed nervously and retreated. The truth was, Jake's situation was considerably worse than mine. According to my daughter's morning intelligence report, Amelia had become my unwitting spy in this suburban war. He'd been fired from his tech job after someone anonymously sent the pool video to his entire company directory. His girlfriend had moved out Sunday morning, taking his flat-screen TV and his dignity. The neighbors were avoiding him like he had a contagious disease, and his landlord was asking questions about the lease after seeing the online drama. Jennifer, meanwhile, had transformed from guilty wife to wounded victim with Oscar-worthy performance skills. "You humiliated me in front of the entire neighborhood," she'd said when I came home Saturday night, tears streaming down her face. "How could you be so cruel?" "Cruel," I'd laughed, the sound echoing through our kitchen. "I'm not the one who's been lying for 16 years. You pushed me to this, Tom. You work all the time. You never talk to me anymore. You made me feel invisible." Classic Jennifer. Twist the knife, then blame me for the wound. But her manipulation tactics felt hollow now, like watching a magician perform tricks after you'd seen behind the curtain. The real problem was the financial situation. Jennifer worked at Morrison Creative, one of the city's top advertising agencies, pulling in nearly twice my salary. She'd been the primary breadwinner for years, which meant she held most of the cards in any potential divorce. Tuesday brought worse news. I came home to find Jennifer in the kitchen with a man in an expensive suit, clearly a lawyer. "Tom, this is David Morrison," she said, not meeting my eyes. "We need to discuss some things." Morrison stood and extended his hand like we were meeting at a country club instead of my own kitchen. "Mr. Patterson, I represent your wife in some preliminary discussions about asset division." "Asset division?" I sat down heavily. "We haven't even talked about divorce." "After your public display on Saturday, I think it's clear this marriage is over," Jennifer said. "David's just helping me understand my options." Morrison opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Given the current circumstances, and considering Mrs. Patterson's income level and professional reputation, which has been significantly damaged by recent events, we're looking at a fairly straightforward division. He slid a paper across the table. The numbers made my vision blur. Jennifer would keep the house, the cars, and most of our savings. I'd get my retirement account and the privilege of paying alimony for the next 5 years. "This is insane," I said. "She's the one who cheated." "Adultery is difficult to prove legally," Morrison replied smoothly. "And given your recent behavior, the public humiliation, the social media campaign, Mrs. Patterson has grounds for emotional distress claims." After they left, I sat in my kitchen staring at the papers. 23 years of marriage, and I was being treated like the villain because I'd had the audacity to expose the truth. That's when my phone rang. Jake's name appeared on the screen. "Don't hang up," he said immediately. "We need to talk. I think we've said enough. Tom, please. This whole thing is spiraling out of control. Jennifer's lawyer is talking about restraining orders, and my life is completely ruined. Can't we work this out like adults?" "Adults?" I laughed. "Adults don't sleep with their best friend's wife for 16 years. Adults don't father children and let other men raise them. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. It just developed over time. We never meant to hurt you." "But you did hurt me, Jake. Every day for 16 years. Every time you came to family dinners, every time you gave me business advice, every time you pretended to be my friend while you were screwing my wife." There was a long pause. "What do you want, Tom? What will it take to end this?" What did I want? I stared out the kitchen window at the life I'd built. The house I'd painted every summer, the garden Jennifer had planted, the basketball hoop I'd installed for kids who might not even be mine. "I want my life back," I said finally. "But since that's impossible, I guess I'll settle for making sure you both understand exactly what you've taken from me." I hung up and immediately called my own lawyer. The war was just beginning. My lawyer, Patricia Wong, had the kind of reputation that made other lawyers nervous. She was expensive, ruthless, and had never lost a custody case in 15 years of practice. "Your situation is complicated," she said, reviewing the paternity results in her downtown office, "but not hopeless. We need to move fast and smart." "What do you mean?" "Your wife's lawyer is good, but he's making assumptions about your behavior. He thinks you're going to be the typical angry husband, sloppy, emotional, easy to manipulate in court. We're going to prove him wrong." Patricia laid out a strategy that was both brilliant and slightly terrifying. First, we'd document everything. Every lie, every inconsistency, every piece of evidence that showed Jennifer's deception went far beyond simple adultery. "This isn't just about infidelity," Patricia explained. "This is about fraud. She's been living a double life, using marital resources to support an affair, and potentially hiding assets. We need to prove she's been systematically deceiving you for years." The first step was financial forensics. Patricia hired an investigator named Mike Torres, a former police detective who specialized in following money trails. "Most cheaters are sloppy with finances," Mike explained during our first meeting. "Hotel rooms, restaurants, gifts, it all leaves a paper trail. We just need to know where to look." Within a week, Mike had uncovered a pattern that made my stomach turn. Jennifer had been using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, and weekend trips, all during times when she'd told me she was working late or attending conferences. But the real bombshell came when Mike dug into Jake's finances. He'd been making regular payments to a private account that Jennifer had opened without my knowledge. Thousands of dollars over the past 2 years, disguised as consulting fees for marketing advice. "They've been planning this for a while," Mike said, showing me bank statements. "Look at the timing. She opened this account right after your last promotion, when your salary increased. They knew divorce was coming, and they were hiding assets." Armed with this information, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt and betrayal were still there, but they were being replaced by something colder and more focused. Jennifer and Jake had treated me like a fool for years. Time to show them exactly how wrong they were. My first move was social media warfare, but with surgical precision. Instead of angry rants or emotional outbursts, I began posting carefully curated content that told my story with devastating effectiveness. Day 12 of discovering my wife's 16-year affair with my best friend, I wrote on Facebook, alongside a photo of the paternity results. Still processing the fact that I've been paying for another man's child's braces, soccer camps, and college fund. Amazing how people can look you in the eye and lie for decades. Truth, verados, betrayal. Chakra 16 years. The post went viral locally within hours. Friends, neighbors, and coworkers shared it with comments ranging from sympathy to outrage. Jennifer's carefully maintained public image as the successful, devoted wife began crumbling in real time. But I was just getting started. Next, I created a detailed timeline of Jennifer's lies, cross-referenced with bank statements and credit card records. I posted it as a blog on a public platform titled The Anatomy of a 16-Year Deception, a case study in marital fraud. The blog included screenshots of text messages, obtained legally through our joint phone account, receipts for hotel rooms during supposed business trips, and a detailed financial analysis showing how our family resources had been diverted to support Jennifer's double life. Within 48 hours, the blog had been shared over 1,000 times. Jennifer's colleagues at Morrison Creative were reading it. Her clients were asking questions. Her professional reputation was evaporating faster than her excuses. Jake, meanwhile, was dealing with his own crisis. His landlord had evicted him after neighbors complained about the constant stream of people driving by his apartment, taking photos and videos. He'd been forced to move back in with his elderly mother, a deeply religious woman who was reportedly not taking the scandal well. I decided it was time for a more direct approach. Thursday evening, I drove to Jake's mother's house in the old part of town. Jake's car was in the driveway, and I could see him through the kitchen window, looking miserable as his mother gestured angrily. I knocked on the front door. Jake answered, his face falling when he saw me. "Tom, what are you doing here?" "Thought I'd check on an old friend," I said pleasantly. "See how you're adjusting to your new living situation." Jake's mother appeared behind him, a tiny woman with steel gray hair and the kind of moral authority that could make grown men confess their sins. "You must be Tom," she said, her voice carrying decades of disappointment. "I've heard so much about you. Please come in." Jake looked like he wanted to disappear as his mother led me into the living room, where she'd apparently been showing him newspaper clippings about our scandal. "I raised my son better than this," she said, gesturing at the articles. 35 years I spent teaching him right from wrong, and this is how he repays me. Destroying families, lying to friends, acting like some common criminal. "Mom, please," Jake started. "Don't you, Mom, please me, Jacob Michael Torres. This man trusted you. He welcomed you into his home, his business, his family, and you repaid that trust by stealing his wife and fathering a child with her." I almost felt sorry for Jake, almost. "I just wanted to let you know there are no hard feelings," I said, pulling out my phone. "In fact, I brought something to share." I opened the video I'd prepared, a compilation of security footage from various locations showing Jake and Jennifer together over the past year, set to music with timestamps and location data. "This is going live on social media tonight," I said. "Thought you should see it first, out of respect for our old friendship." Jake's mother watched the entire video in horrified silence. When it ended, she turned to her son with a look that could have melted steel. "Get out of my house," she said quietly. "I don't care where you go, but you're not staying here another night." As I left, I could hear Jake pleading with his mother while she continued packing his belongings into garbage bags. The video went online at midnight and had 50,000 views by morning. By the third week of my campaign, Jennifer was cracking under the pressure. Her boss at Morrison Creative had called her into a meeting after clients started asking uncomfortable questions about her personal situation. The agency's reputation depended on trust and family values, not exactly compatible with a 16-year adultery scandal. "You need to stop this," she said, cornering me in our kitchen after work. "It's affecting my job, my clients, everything I've worked for." "Interesting," I replied, not looking up from my laptop where I was preparing my next blog post. "Now you know how it feels to have your life destroyed by someone you trusted." "This is different, Tom. You're doing this deliberately, maliciously. What happened between Jake and me? It just happened. For 16 years? That's a very long just happened." She sat down across from me, trying a different approach. "Look, I know I hurt you. I know I made mistakes. But we can still salvage this. We can go to counseling, work things out, rebuild our marriage." I finally looked up at her. Really looked. She was still beautiful at 47, still the woman I'd fallen in love with in college, but now all I could see was the lie she'd been living, the performance she'd been giving for over a decade. "Rebuild our marriage?" I laughed. "Jennifer, our marriage never existed. It was just you, me, and Jake in some twisted triangle where I was the only one who didn't know the rules. That's not true. Our younger son isn't mine. You've been stealing money from our joint accounts. You've been lying about business trips, working late, weekend conferences. What exactly is left to rebuild?" She started crying then, but even her tears felt calculated. Jennifer had always been good at using emotion as a weapon, and I'd fallen for it countless times over the years. Not anymore. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow," I continued. "Patricia thinks we have a strong case for fraud, given the financial deception and the paternity situation. You might want to call your lawyer." That weekend, I received an unexpected visitor. Victoria Chen, Jennifer's younger sister, appeared at my door Saturday morning with coffee and what she probably thought was a sympathetic smile. "Tom, I'm so sorry about everything," she said, settling into my living room like she belonged there. "Jennifer's been a mess, and I wanted to see how you're holding up." Victoria had always been the successful sister, divorced twice, no kids, worked in real estate, and had the kind of aggressive confidence that made people uncomfortable. She'd never liked me much, always thought Jennifer had married beneath her. "I'm managing," I said, wondering why she was really here. "You know, I've been thinking about this whole situation, and I have some ideas that might help everyone." "What kind of ideas?" Victoria pulled out her phone and showed me what looked like a real estate listing. "This is a property I've been managing, a beautiful lake house about an hour north of here. Very private, very peaceful. I think it would be perfect for you and Jennifer to get away, talk things through without all the social media drama and neighborhood gossip." I studied the listing. The house was impressive, modern, expensive, isolated, exactly the kind of place where someone could have a very private conversation. "Why are you helping me, Victoria? You've never exactly been my biggest fan." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Look, Tom, I'll be honest. This scandal is affecting the whole family. My real estate business depends on reputation and trust. Having my sister's adultery drama trending on social media isn't exactly good for business." "So, this is about your business?" "This is about finding a solution that works for everyone. You get to have an honest conversation with Jennifer without the whole world watching. She gets a chance to explain herself properly. And maybe, just maybe, you can both find a way to end this that doesn't destroy everyone involved. I pretended to consider her offer while my mind raced. Victoria was up to something. Her sudden concern for my well-being was about as genuine as a $3 bill, but her suggestion gave me an idea. You know what? That sounds perfect, I said. When can we use it? This weekend, if you want. I'll call Jennifer, set everything up. Just you, her, and Jake, if necessary. A chance to clear the air and figure out how to move forward. After Victoria left, I immediately called Patricia Wong. She's planning something, Patricia said after I explained the situation. Lake house, isolated location, all three of them together. This smells like a setup. That's what I thought. What kind of setup? Hard to say. Maybe they're planning to record you losing your temper, use it as evidence of emotional instability in the divorce proceedings. Maybe they want to get you somewhere private to pressure you into accepting a bad settlement, or maybe they're just desperate to get you away from social media long enough to control the narrative. What if we turn it around on them? What do you mean? I explained my idea. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. It's risky, she said finally. But it could work. We'd need to be very careful about the legal aspects. Can you make some calls? I think it's time to end this thing properly. Friday afternoon, I drove north to Victoria's lake house. The property was exactly as advertised, isolated, expensive, and perfect for what I had in mind. I spent 2 hours setting up equipment, testing angles, and making sure everything was positioned correctly. Saturday evening, I returned with Jennifer and Jake. Victoria was already there, playing the role of concerned mediator. I'm so glad you all agreed to this, she said as we gathered in the spacious living room. I really think we can work through this situation if we just communicate honestly. Honestly? I laughed. That's an interesting word choice, considering the circumstances. Jake shifted uncomfortably on the couch. He'd lost weight over the past month, and his usual confidence had been replaced by nervous energy. Tom, I know you're angry. I'm not angry anymore, Jake. Anger is what you feel in the moment. This is something else entirely. I pulled out my phone and opened the recording app. Victoria suggested we have an honest conversation, so let's do that. I want to hear the truth about everything, when it started, how long it's been going on, what you were planning to do about me. Tom, I don't think recording this is a good idea. Victoria started. Actually, I think it's a great idea. See, I've learned something important over the past month. The truth has a way of protecting itself, but lies need constant maintenance. I'm tired of maintaining other people's lies. What happened next was better than I could have hoped for. Fine, Jennifer said, her composure finally cracking. You want the truth? Here's the truth. Yes, I've been with Jake for 16 years. Yes, your younger son is his. And yes, we've been planning for this day since the beginning. Jake looked at her in panic. Jennifer, don't what? Don't tell him that we never intended for this to be permanent, that we've been waiting for the kids to grow up so we could be together properly? I kept my phone recording, but my expression neutral. Go on. You think you're so smart with your social media campaign and your private investigators, but you have no idea what you're really up against. Victoria's been helping us for years, setting up accounts, moving money, making sure we'd be protected when this all came out. Victoria shot her sister a warning look, but Jennifer was beyond caring. We knew you'd never just accept a divorce. You're too stubborn, too self-righteous. So we prepared for war. The house is in my name. Most of the savings are in accounts you don't know about. And we have documentation of every angry outburst, every social media post, every unhinged thing you've done since you found out. Jennifer, shut up, Victoria hissed. Why? He's going to find out anyway. Tom, you think you're the victim here, but you're not. You're an obstacle. You always have been. Jake and I fell in love, real love, not the boring, predictable marriage we had. And we decided years ago that we weren't going to let you stand in the way of our happiness. I nodded slowly. So, this was all planned. The financial hiding, the preparation for divorce, even the way you've been acting since I found out. Of course it was planned. Did you think we were just going to stumble through this like amateurs? Jake buried his face in his hands. This is insane. This isn't what we agreed to. What we agreed to? Jennifer turned on him. We agreed to be together, Jake. We agreed to build a life. Everything else is just details. I stopped the recording and smiled. Thank you. That was exactly what I needed. The confusion on their faces was priceless. You see, while you three were planning your little intervention, I was making some plans of my own. I pulled out a second phone. This entire conversation has been live streaming to a private social media account. My lawyer is watching, my private investigator is watching, and about 50 of our mutual friends and neighbors are watching. Victoria went pale. That's illegal. You can't record people without consent. Actually, I can. This is a one-party consent state, and you invited me here for the specific purpose of having this conversation. Plus, Jennifer just confessed to financial fraud, conspiracy, and 16 years of deliberate deception on camera. I walked to the window and gestured outside. Also, you might want to look at the driveway. 3 cars had pulled up while we were talking. Patricia Wong got out of the first one, accompanied by a man I recognized as a process server. Mike Torres emerged from the second car with a camera and what looked like legal documents. The third car contained 2 people I didn't recognize but who were clearly official. Patricia thought it would be good to have witnesses for this conversation, I explained, especially since you were kind enough to confess to conspiracy and fraud in front of multiple people. Jennifer stood up, her face flushed with rage. You manipulative bastard. You planned this whole thing. I learned from the best, I replied. 16 years of watching you manipulate situations and people. I have to admit, you're a good teacher. Jake finally looked up. Tom, please. We can still work this out. We can... Work what out, Jake? You just heard your girlfriend explain how I'm an obstacle to your happiness, how you've been planning to destroy my life for years. What exactly is there to work out? The front door opened and Patricia entered, followed by the process server. Mr. Patterson, we're ready to proceed. I turned back to Jennifer, Jake, and Victoria. Here's what's going to happen. Jennifer, you're being served with divorce papers that include fraud charges and a request for full financial disclosure. Every account, every hidden asset, every penny you've moved over the past 5 years. The process server handed Jennifer a thick envelope. Victoria, you're being served with papers related to your role in the financial conspiracy. My investigator has been very thorough in documenting your involvement. Victoria received her own envelope, her hands shaking. And Jake, you're being served with a paternity suit. Since you're the biological father of my younger son, you're now legally responsible for 16 years of back child support, plus ongoing support until he turns 18. Jake's face went white. 16 years of child support? At current rates, plus interest, we're looking at approximately $240,000, Patricia said helpfully. Payable immediately, or we can arrange a payment plan. I picked up my phone and ended the live stream. The recording of this conversation will be submitted as evidence in all proceedings. Jennifer's confession to fraud and conspiracy should make the divorce proceedings much more straightforward. Jennifer was staring at the papers in her hands like they might spontaneously combust. This is insane. You can't do this. Actually, I can. See, while you were busy planning to destroy my life, I was busy learning exactly what my rights are. Turns out when someone commits fraud in a marriage, lies about paternity, and conspires to hide assets, the innocent spouse has quite a few legal remedies available. Victoria finally found her voice. The live stream was illegal. None of this will hold up in court. Maybe, I said, but it doesn't matter. See, the real audience wasn't the court system. The real audience was everyone who's been watching this drama unfold for the past month. Your clients, Victoria, Jennifer's colleagues and clients, Jake's family and friends. They all just watched you confess to years of conspiracy and fraud. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and one more thing. The lake house, I bought it this afternoon. Cash offer, full asking price. Victoria's client was very motivated to sell quickly, especially after I explained the situation. So you're all trespassing on my property. The look of absolute shock on Victoria's face was worth every penny. You have 30 minutes to collect your things and leave. After that, I'll be calling the police to report trespassers. As I walked outside to join Patricia and Mike, I could hear raised voices from inside the house. Jennifer screaming at Victoria, Jake trying to calm everyone down, and Victoria apparently having some kind of breakdown. How do you feel? Patricia asked. I thought about it for a moment, listening to the chaos behind me, looking out at the lake that was now mine, thinking about the life I was going to build from the ashes of the old one. Honestly, I feel free. The war was over. I had won. But more importantly, I had learned something valuable about myself. For 23 years, I had been the accommodating husband, the understanding friend, the guy who kept the peace and avoided conflict. I had been so afraid of being alone that I had accepted being lied to, manipulated, and betrayed. Those days were finished. As we drove away from the lake house, leaving Jennifer, Jake, and Victoria to sort out the wreckage of their conspiracy, I realized that this wasn't really an ending. It was a beginning. The divorce would be finalized within 6 months. Jennifer would lose the house, most of the savings, and her reputation. Jake would be paying child support for the next 2 years while trying to rebuild his career from nothing. Victoria would likely lose her real estate license once the ethics board reviewed her involvement in the financial fraud. My younger son, when he turned 18 in 2 years, would have the choice of maintaining a relationship with me or pursuing one with his biological father. I hoped he would choose me, but I would respect whatever decision he made. My older son and daughter had already made their positions clear. They were disgusted by their mother's behavior and proud of how I had handled the situation. "Dad," Amelia had said after watching the live stream, "I never knew you were such a badass." Ross had been more direct. Mom and Jake got exactly what they deserved. As for me, I had the lake house, a successful accounting practice, and the kind of hard-earned wisdom that only comes from surviving betrayal and coming out stronger on the other side. I also had something else, a story that had captivated the entire community and turned me from a laughingstock into something of a local legend. The man who had outsmarted the cheaters, who had turned the tables on a 16-year conspiracy, who had proven that sometimes the nice guy doesn't finish last. He finishes victorious. The next morning, I woke up in my new lake house, made coffee, and sat on the deck watching the sunrise over the water. For the first time in months, my phone wasn't buzzing with notifications, messages, or social media updates. It was quiet, peaceful, perfect. I was 49 years old, divorced, and starting over. But I was also free, vindicated, and surrounded by people who respected what I had accomplished. Most importantly, I had learned that I was capable of much more than I had ever imagined. The quiet accountant who had been taken advantage of for decades was gone. In his place was someone harder, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous to anyone who might try to deceive him. I raised my coffee cup in a toast to the lake, to my new life, and to the 3 people who had inadvertently taught me exactly how strong I could be when pushed too far. "Thank you," I said aloud, "for showing me who I really am." Then I went inside to start planning my new life. The reckoning was complete.